Hi, I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to FinextraTV. We're here at Sibos 2022 in Amsterdam. Joining me now in the studio is Amit Dua from SunTec. Amit, great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Likewise, Hannah. After now, 3 years that we're in person in Sibos?
That's right.
It's always great to be back here.
Well, that's what it's all about. And I'm looking forward to speaking with you because I know you want to talk about banking as a service. But before we go into that, I would like to hear what's been really resonating with you during Sibos, listening to the sessions and during your discussions on the exhibition floor. So let's hear about that.
I think Sibos has always been one of our flagship events for us around the year, around the globe. Because I think there's not one event around the globe where you've got head of transaction banking and head of global cash management, trade and FI businesses all coming together at one place for most of these big banks. So I think it drives very interesting conversations. We get to know about their challenges, and I have to be honest that many of our clients, actually big banks, actually originated in Sibos. The conversations started in Sibos, and this year it's also a lot about BaaS and Queen Maxima, who's inaugurated the event. You might know that she's a special envoy or sort to UN Secretary General for financial inclusion. And that's one dimension of BaaS, because if you think of hundreds of mobile money operators around Africa, in Latin America or in Philippines and other emerging markets, most of them today offer only payments. So those 1.2 billion unbanked people around the world, they want access to put their deposits or savings in. They certainly want insurances, so micro insurances, and eventually they want some investments also to be done.
Sure.
And BaaS becomes a great way. So if banks can tie up with these mobile money operators and provide these services, they can extend their reach to these 1.2 billion people.
So, yeah, you've touched on this a little bit already, but who do you think is being impacted most by banking as a service and that platform?
I think certainly the customer, if we start from that end of the spectrum, because the customer, one, will get more access to more products and services. Secondly, the customer gets choices. And I guess most importantly, customer gets a holistic customer experience. So. Sure. This much often quoted example of banks offering mortgage while customers wanting to get a home buying experience. Now banks or BaaS service providers can complete this end-to-end experience. So that's one end of the spectrum. On the other end are of course the BaaS providers itself, whether it's the technology companies who've acquired licenses, so there are Solaris and Green Dot banks in US, or there are large banks who are wanting to offer BaaS services. They would be able to reach out to far more customers, far more geographies, far more segments via these service providers. So via these consumers.
Sure. Well, I mean, those are the opportunities, but I want to hear a bit about maybe some of the challenges and friction you're seeing with the BaaS providers and what hurdles are still left to jump in that space.
I think, so if you allow me to talk about the opportunity first, overall, whether it's the BaaS service providers, the enablers, the fintechs in the middle, or the consumers. Overall, everybody benefits because when they come together, there's more value being created in the ecosystem. Moment that happens, naturally then, everybody benefits. Now, to talk about challenges, I think to start with, when large banks decide to offer BaaS services, first and foremost, they've got to ask them a real hard question. And that question is, are you willing to sacrifice your brand? Right? So when in US you go for an Apple credit card, you are not supposed to, or you wouldn't know that it's back-ended by a Goldman Sachs. So the brand is got sacrificed. Now, there's a flip side of it, that Apple, with whom you are taking the product out, if it doesn't get a good service from the back-end BaaS providers, in this case Goldman Sachs, Apple's brand is at stake.
Right.
Yeah. And there are murmurs you hear in the market that, in simple credit card business, moment a customer disputes a charge and it gets into chargeback operations, is Goldman Sachs geared enough?
Right.
And does it have enough experience being an investment bank to handle that? So there are risks involved of the brand, the guy who's dealing with the customer. As far as the bank, the BaaS service provider is concerned, they should be willing to kind of lose their brand identity at the cost of course, reaching out to more customers. So there are certain challenges, and this this is early stage of evolution of the BaaS market, I'd say.
All right, so where do you see the future going in this space, but also what's the role of SunTec here? Where do you come in?
I think in future banks would need to make a choice on whether they want to own the customer relationship and be at the front end center, or they want to be a utility service provider at the back end providing BaaS services, not really bothering about brand building too much. And what we do at SunTec is we build very advanced open banking ecosystem capabilities, which are very handy in the BaaS ecosystem. Whenever a BaaS provider sets up a business, it will need to orchestrate this whole ecosystem. So digitally onboard the partners' contracts, manage their relationship, monitor their SLAs, of course manage their pricing, manage their loyalty, and what if there's a SLA default? So, if Goldman Sachs defaults in the same example on the Apple credit card servicing, who takes the hit? So all of this orchestrating of ecosystem capability, we've developed those advanced capability, and we're looking forward to progressing on that really.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you further down the line and reflecting on those predictions as well as some sound advice weaved in there, I think. But Amit, look, I'll let you get back to the event. Thank you very much for sharing your insights.
Thank you so much, and a pleasure seeing you again.